Yo, we got game one reaction to Celtics Mavericks. Of course we're watching Kenny. I'm gonna go and get started.
Here, and typically we get these reaction videos out like that, but I was in New York City for some work shoots, but I told them I will not pull up to this shoot unless I am on the first flight back to Chicago the next morning. So I woke up very early because I wanted to do this. There are so many things to
Okay.
talk about for game number one. And yes, I know a lot of people are going to
W
talk
Kenny.
about it being the National Blowout Association. That's not the way I saw game one at all. Yes, it ended up being like a 28-point lead
Bro, I've not seen anything regarding to that. That must be a Twitter
at
thing,
one
bro.
point, but maybe it's because we've been void of NBA basketball for the last week that no matter what would have happened in game one, I would have been really excited about. But I saw so many things that are very interesting. So let's get into it. Obviously, the final score is 107-89. Boston Celtics. Crowd was electric. Porzingis was back and was the greatest player of all time. And the defense.
Not in the first quarter, Porzingis was crazy, bro. Like, I'm pretty sure he had 18 alone in the first quarter. I could be wrong. Maybe it was just in the first half in general. Either way, first quarter he went crazy. Definitely dropped double digits in the first quarter alone. And yeah, he's a spark that the Celtics really needed because I know at some point the score was 14-14, and I don't know if like directly after Porzingis got in they went on a run, but Porzingis definitely helped the Celtics. Al Horford minutes were not good. I'm gonna be honest. Like they kept playing Al Horford in the pick and roll, and it wasn't good. But when Al Horford was in the game or they got Al Horford away from the ball, they were playing great defense.
Defense is really the main thing for the Boston Celtics. Now, game number one is always a fill it out period. Jason Kidd obviously doesn't win many game ones, and this is one of the reasons why. He sees what you're doing. He's going to adjust. Joe Mazzulla, very similar. He's going to see what you're going to do. They're going to adjust. But it might be too simple to say this, but the Boston Celtics played Boston Celtics basketball. And the reason I say that is because this entire season, the Boston Celtics have been a team to blitz almost none. I think that the stat that I read as doing my bunch of research before the series started, that the entire season, they blitzed 11 times.
Yeah, for sure.
You think about how often the pick and roll is used in the NBA. They blitzed 11 times the entire 82-game season plus the postseason. But Luka Doncic is such a ridiculous pick and roll player, arguably one of the greatest that we have ever seen play the pick and roll, that if it was any person to change that, it would be Luka Doncic. But the Boston Celtics went to that and said, hey, we're going to play our brand of basketball, and whatever happens, happens. And I was a little bit scared for guys like Al Horford, for guys like Kristaps Porzingis, because I just watched Al Horford get tore up by Andrew Nembhard, Pascal Siakam, and a bunch of other players. I saw him get tore up by Donovan Mitchell in that first.
Yeah, I definitely get what Kenny means. I would say the huge difference between Al Horford and Porzingis is though Al Horford's 5 inches taller and he's a little fat. So I'm not. They didn't really attack Porzingis this game. And I'm not really worried about Porzingis on the perimeter because again, if Luka does a step back, I actually do remember in the first half Luka did have a step back on Porzingis, but majority of the time, at least Porzingis would get his hand in the person's face, and sometimes that's all you can ask for when you're talking about Luka, Kyrie, or whoever. Al Horford is completely different though, but I get what you mean.
Game or two, and then simultaneously happened with, like, at one point it was Marcus Morris. Big Al had a great game tonight in game number one, don't get me wrong, but them switching, pretty much being okay with the switch.
Oh yeah, that's another thing. Al Horford had like 6 points in like 4 or 5 minutes. And they still put Porzingis in. I literally told the peoples in my room, um, I don't know if that's a good move. This man, Al Horford's already had 6 points. I don't know why you're summing him out so early, but hey, that Porzingis production made up for it.
Which is kind of dangerous. And I thought that because Luka Doncic is this dude that just showcased last series against the number one defense in the league, that you should probably blitz him, that the Boston Celtics will start blitzing. And they said, no, we don't care what switch you get if you're Luka Doncic. We're just going to play our brand of basketball. And that defense was so tough. Now, Luka what did he end up scoring? A lot of points, I know that. It was 30 points, 10 rebounds. He only had 1 assist, and he only generated 6 assist opportunities, which means that he passed the ball, and only 6 times his opponents took a shot, and they were 1 for 6 on those passes, which is just way low for Luka Doncic. They made the Dallas Mavericks play their brand of basketball, something that Minnesota couldn't do.
Okay, yeah. I agree with everything you said. What was I about to say? I think Luca is almost like a Jokic in that scenario. Even though Luca had 30 points, since they're not blitzing or anything, nobody else is getting open. Nobody else is getting in rhythm or anything. So Luca just has that 30 points for no reason. Like I remember there was a stat where like most of the time where Jokic has a good game, which is like I don't know 35-point triple double or whatever. They lose those games because usually when Jokic scores a lot, that's where they lose. I don't know why, but maybe that's the same thing with Luca, kinda. Like every time he gets a low amount of assists, they're gonna lose that game. Also, seeing the stat, um, Luca, this is his first game this season, I believe, with only one assist. That's crazy, and he hasn't had a playoff game with under two assists. Crazy.
Minnesota gave up a million lobs. But because the Boston Celtics are not stubborn, or Joe Mazzulla and the coaching staff is not stubborn, they were completely okay with letting Jason Tatum guard the road man. It was something that I said in last. I know we're going back to last series, Minnesota. You kind of disappointed me in that one. There was something that I was saying in the last series that I thought would have been okay if Rudy Gobert was playing Romer guarding Derrick Jones Jr. or guarding PJ Washington, who had another bad shooting night, because that allows him to head on these blitzes or to tag on these roadmen and so on and so forth, and you just have a better player to guard and drop.
Yes, yeah, he explained it perfectly, and even like if you want to go back to OKC, thing is with OKC, they were blitzing Luca or Kyrie, whoever's going off at the time, whatever. And then you got people like Derrick Jones Jr., PJ Washington going off, and you're opening up lobs for other players, and that's when the Mavericks are at their best. And I know it sounds crazy because Luca, top three player in the league, great scorer, hasn't really had any bad scoring games his whole playoffs, but having only one person guard him might just have to be the thing because if you don't, those other people gonna keep get going. And that's how the Mavericks roll. That's how the Mavericks got to the finals.
Boston Celtics said we're gonna do that immediately. We're gonna have Jason Tatum guard Gafford. We're gonna have him guard Derek Lively, and we're gonna neutralize your bread and butter. I think they had 0 lobs, 0. In this entire playoff run, they have like 50 more lobs than any other team. Almost more lobs than every other team in the playoffs combined. But game number 1, 0. The Dallas Mavericks, all regular season and postseason, were number 1, number 2, or number 3. I forget. I ain't got my notes in front of me. Number 1, number 2, and number 3. Top 3 in generating corner 3-point shots. In this game, they didn't generate many. You don't want to know why? Because the entire regular season and postseason, the Boston Celtics have been the team to neutralize the corner 3-point shot. So when I say that they got...
I haven't paid that much attention to the Celtics, but that's probably true. Well, that is true. I don't think he would lie, but that's crazy stuff.
boys to play their brand of basketball, that was really it. Everything that Boston was, Dallas was known to be doing all season long and all postseason long was void. And to hold this team to 89 points, 89? I think they're 1-11 when they don't score 100 points this entire year. They only did it 11 different times. That's regular season and postseason. That's great. And a lot of this, I mean, honestly, I could give credit to so many different people. When you watch Jaylen Brown straight up take the cookies of Luka Doncic multiple times in the game, that's incredible. When you watch,
Yeah. Also, you could definitely see that Luka was struggling. You could definitely see that Luka was struggling through his injury during the game. That's what I meant to say. Like, there would be points where he, his face, he's just grudging his face. Is that the word? Um, Either holding his knee or just looks like he's in pain in general. And I don't know if that's gonna be a thing throughout the whole series. Hopefully, it's not. I want to see a competitive series, but that is something to keep note of.
Kristaps Porzingis come off the bench and get some of the craziest blocks. The Josh Green chase down block was ridiculous. Had our boy Dom asking, he was doing it as a joke, asking if it was the greatest block in NBA Finals history. When you have Drew,
Nah, I ain't gonna lie. I forgot Porzingis had so many blocks. I
Drew
forgot.
Holiday, who
They had like
was
10 blocks
just
in
all
total.
over the place, fighting, competing. Like this was like People always look at the Boston Celtics, right? And again, this is game 1 of 7 in 2022 when they were in the finals. They won game one as well, and they lost that. So the series is very far from over. And people that are already saying it's over, and I mean, there's so much to be said. This is a team that a lot of people look at their offense, and it happened in this game. In that third quarter, they struggled to put the ball in the basket in the first part of the third quarter. Then Jaylen Brown did his part. And that's part of the thing that everybody that has been critical of the Boston Celtics say, hey, they take too many threes, and when their 3-point shots is not falling, what do they do next? But people also forget that they were the number 2 defense in basketball. Now, granted, the Dallas Mavericks went through the number 1 defense in Minnesota, but this Boston Celtics team is just as good defensively as they are offensively.
Um, hold on.
And my question to them was when those things happen, because it's inevitable that they are going to go through cold streaks. It's also inevitable that they're going to hit 7 threes in 3 minutes, which is what they did in the first 3 minutes of this game. What do you do when your 3-point shot is not falling? And the answer to that is we're going to lock down.
I don't mean sure, but I thought he was gonna go somewhere else. In the fourth quarter, it seemed obvious that they were trying to attack the paint, especially Brown. Um, I thought that's what he was gonna go with that. Little spill he was on, but he did not go there. So I will. You can just look up the stats. He got to the free throw line a couple times, I believe. But yeah, that's when Derek Lively kept complaining, like, "Oh, I didn't foul him. Oh, I didn't foul him. This is a weak foul," like stuff like that. But I'm gonna end the video there because he basically said everything he needs to be said. That needs to be said. I don't even know what he's gonna say in his last 8 minutes. It's not like I'm a fake Kenny fan, but I gotta upload YouTube for y'all, man.